From metal to cars, phones and computers. This machine makes bespoke parts that end up in BMWs and Audis and Apple iPhones. The founder of the company that makes it calls it the Ferrari of metal press machines. Michael Wee started Patek with some partners 20 years ago in Singapore. Now, this metal press and stamping machine is still manufactured at Patek's first plant here in Singapore. And this is the final product, a $500,000 machine that's destined for a client in China. But with slow growth there and an economic slowdown regionally as well, the company, like many other manufacturing firms in Singapore, are rethinking their future strategy. The rising cost of labour has meant that most of Patek's manufacturing now takes place in China and Indonesia. Mr. Wee's son, Calvin, says that even though the company remains at heart Singaporean, to remain competitive, it's having to become increasingly global.
One of the biggest reasons why we are still in Singapore is, quite frankly, sentiments. There are staff with the company who's been with the company for the past 20 years. We can't expect to relocate them to China. Their families, their kids in school, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's one consideration, But from a pure business perspective, is there a need to retain presence in Singapore? If it wasn't home, probably not much.
Economists say that Singapore's manufacturing future is under pressure.
Singapore manufacturing will be affected in the near-medium term, mainly because it is still a large chunk of the economy. You're talking about 25-28% of the GDP from manufacturing, and Singapore's manufacturing is export-driven.
But while exports are weaker, companies like Patek say the slowdown may actually help them. It will give them a chance to take stock and plan their next step. They admit that with annual profits of more than $3 million, times are not as tough as they've been in the past. And with their focus of catering to the world's best-known brands, they're confident they can carve out a future that's resistant to any global recession. Sharon Jikleo, BBC News, Singapore.